Recently, Lenovo launched the Vibe K4 Note, successor to the K3 Note from last year. In this video, let's take a look at what's changed since the K3 Note. Barring the fact that they've added a vibe to the name, now what else is different? Let's start with the built-in design. While the K3 Note was built fine, the plain plastic back and the generic-looking front made it look a little too blunt. The K4 Note, on the other hand, seems to have more going for it. It's still plastic, but the four metal sides and curved back help give it some personality. The K4 Note is taller, wider, and thicker than its predecessor. It's also the heavier of the two, but these are things you're probably not gonna notice unless you're holding both phones side by side. And anyway, Lenovo's got good reasons for the K4 Note's increased overall footprint. The K4 Note has front-facing stereo speakers and a larger capacity 3300 mAh battery inside. Talking about the speakers, it's worth mentioning that while the K3 Note had support for Dolby Atmos via the 3.5mm headphone jack, the K4 Note now supports Dolby Atmos via the internal speakers as well. The other major change is the inclusion of a fingerprint scanner to the back, and if you look closer, while both phones have dual LED flashes, the K4 Note has a dual-tone dual LED flash. The micro USB port's also been moved from the bottom to the top, but it still supports USB OTG, so it's just a cosmetic change here. The backs are removable on both devices, and with the K4 Note, Lenovo's promised various back replacements to be made available soon. Now that should let you add more flair to your device if you so choose to. Moving on, both phones pack 5.5-inch Full HD IPS LCD displays, giving them a pixel density of 401 pixels per inch. The display on the K4 Note seems brighter, and Lenovo also claims it to be better and more color accurate. But the main difference for me is the fact that the display on the K4 Note is covered by Corning Gorilla Glass 3, something that its predecessor lacks. Now, barring the protection aspect of it, this makes the K4 Note a lot less prone to picking up fingerprints and smudges. Underneath the hood, the K3 Note is powered by the MediaTek MT6752 chip, whereas the K4 Note sports the MT6753 chip. Now here's the twist. While both chips have 8 cores, 8 Cortex A53 cores underneath, the ones on the K3 Note are clocked higher. This means the older and cheaper phone benchmarks better. And that said, the K4 Note does have more RAM and a higher capacity battery. The higher capacity battery coupled with a lower clock speed means the K4 Note should outperform its predecessor with regards to battery life. It's also worth noting that the K4 Note manages to charge much faster with speeds equal to Qualcomm's Quick Charge 1.0. As far as regular day-to-day usage goes, in the limited time that I've spent with the K4 Note, it seemed decent for day-to-day tasks. Managed to run most apps without slowing down. As for intensive usage like gaming, I'll have a gaming review out soon and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Next up, let's talk cameras. Both phones have 13 megapixel rear cameras. While the one on the K3 Note has a wider f/2.0 aperture, the one on the K4 Note has a dual-tone dual LED flash and face detection autofocus. While the shutter response seems faster on the K4 Note, the image quality seems very comparable on both phones. The difference in aperture doesn't really seem to make a noticeable difference as well. Anyway, I'll have more for you guys on the camera aspect of the K4 Note in the full review. It's also worth noting that the 5-megapixel front shooter on the K4 Note uses a wider angle lens. Now with that, let's get to software. The K3 Note runs on Android 5.0 Lollipop with Lenovo's Vibe UI on top. The K4 Note, on the other hand, runs on Android 5.1 Lollipop with Lenovo's newer Vibe UI on top. While both interfaces are quite similar, the one found on the K4 Note has a few new tricks. For example, you can enable an Android style for the launcher, which brings back the app drawer. The K4 Note also has support for the fingerprint scanner built in, and this fingerprint scanner works surprisingly well. It can wake the device from sleep and has been quite accurate so far. Finally, the major difference between both devices is the fact that the K4 Note has support for a split screen mode. This lets you use this phone with an Ant VR headset. The fact that the VR functionality is built into the firmware means you don't need typical VR content to utilize this function. Any game that supports a Bluetooth controller, any video that you have on your phone, you can experience all that as if it's on a large display right in front of you. I've tried that out and it seems to work quite well. Theoretically, this is a feature that can be ported over to the K3 Note, but odds of Lenovo doing that appear really slim at this time. Finally, let's talk price. The K3 Note is priced at Rs 9,999 and Lenovo's confirmed that the K3 Note will continue to sell alongside the K4 Note and is not being phased out anytime soon. The K4 Note, on the other hand, is priced at 11,999 rupees and initially is available for $12,499 with an VR headset included. So these are the major differences between both phones. Between these two, what's your pick? The K3 Note with its beefier internals and lower price tag, or the K4 Note with its fingerprint scanner, stereo speakers, and Theater Max support? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you do want to pick up either of these phones, I'll leave direct links in the description below. Do use them if you want to help the channel out. So I guess that's it for this video. If you did like it, give it a thumbs up. And for more videos like this, including the full review, hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. So thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, this is Ash here from C4E Tech signing off. You guys have a great day. Bye bye now.